So this is my very first alt in Legion. So far I've been able to level 2 rogues, and I wanted an alt character for a while. I was trying to debate whether I want a hunter or maybe like mental shaman, shadow priest, affliction warlock, frost mage, but I decided to do a demon hunter. I'm still gonna level one of those other classes. I especially want to level a beastmaster hunter. I feel like it'll be a lot of fun to be hitting kill command from literally Africa, as my pet tears apart my enemy a new one. But a demon hunter is a lot of fun. Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Dal, and after playing Demon Hunter, I decided to put a video together just talking a little bit about Demon Hunter and how good it is for PvP, more or less. Now, Demon Hunters don't have the best representation when it comes to arenas, as they don't really bring that much utility to the team. The only class that is closest to Demon Hunter and basically does the same things they do is a Windwalker Monk, but the difference is a Demon Hunter can't get out of roots while a Windwalker Monk can. So in a way, a Windwalker Monk is going to be a little bit ahead of Demon Hunter. But regardless, Demon Hunters are a spec with a lot of mobility. They're very fun. They have very straightforward abilities and a lot of ways of dealing damage. And I just want to talk a little bit about what's so fun about them and some of the reasons to give you why you might want to try Demon Hunter in the future. Just a side note from my viewers, I'm still a rogue channel. I still am gonna make rogue videos, but after playing a little bit of Demon Hunter, I don't see a reason why somebody shouldn't try Demon Hunter. I feel like it's one of those classes that is designed for everybody to try, and if you haven't played Demon Hunter yet, whether it was back on the beta or currently in the game, you should definitely level 1 and give it a go. I think it's actually kind of unique. First of all, Demon Hunters offers you a very mobility-heavy playstyle. In a way, I would say this playstyle is new, but it's more refurbished. What Demon Hunters ended up being is a combination of abilities that we've seen in the past and combination of mechanics that we've seen in the past from other classes and specs in the game. One of the things they've gotten is Metamorphosis, which is your big one-shot button, massive cooldown, 4 minutes worth of an ability that deals insane amounts of damage, allows it to be basically a god. You have very strong range damage at 2 charges for your glaive tosses, which I'm surprised is ridiculous because those glaive tosses actually hit really hard at distance. You have the capability to engage yourself into a mobility style bursting mode where you can basically gain burst for 4 seconds every time you position yourself mobility wise. So mobility is heavily incorporated into your damage rotation. And you have varieties of abilities from physical damage to chaos damage to even bleed, so it's really hard for most classes to be able to deal with you because you're not fully a bleed spec, you're not fully a physical damaging spec because you still deal chaos damage even at melee. You're basically a big walking enigma with wings and warglaives, and you're kind of feeling badass every time you kill somebody. It's just a spec with a variety of damage, so it allows the player a little bit of flexibility of what you want to play, how you want to play, which is one of the reasons you should try Demon Hunter, because a lot of people play specs that have a very stable, very steady, sometimes even boring playstyle, and I feel like with Demon Hunter you will never get bored. Number 2 on the list, this spec is very straightforward when it comes to damage and defensives and overall abilities. Demon Hunters in some ways, and some people would say, don't really have too much depth, as you don't really need to have a lot of considerate planning in order to be able to play this spec effectively. Like for example, a rogue like Subtlety back in World of Genre had to do a lot of setup, a lot of energy management, combat management, keep a buff, keep a debuff on the enemy, and line up burst in a way where you're able to stun your enemy for 10% more damage, but use ambushes and then stun lock the enemy right before they come out of stun, so it's a lot of compound management, and it's getting convoluted. The longer I talk, the more convoluted it gets, the more obnoxious it gets to some of you, and Demon Hunter isn't about it. It's a no-nonsense spec. A lot of your abilities have a cleave mechanic. That means if you are hitting more than one target, like let's say your I-beam, which shoots forward, and you are hitting a target, any target that it hits will take the same amount of damage. Your throw warglaives will bounce off of enemies that are around the one that's getting hit by the warglaive. It will hurt them for the same amount of damage and can apply a bleed. When you are dealing Fell Rush damage, when you're using Fell Rush, whether for mobility or damage, charging to or through an enemy will deal damage to them, so if enemies are in a line, you just hit all of them for equal amount of damage. Your artifact weapon doubles up as an AoE and a single target ability. Your defensives are about 1 minute cooldown, and they provide you 50% dodge, 35% damage reduction, flat as that. And you also have ability of darkness, which is very interesting. But you basically are a no-nonsense class. You have a lot of mobility, a lot of damaging capability. Most of your abilities, even throw warglaive, deal a ton of damage or a considerable amount of damage that are worth using, so basically no useless abilities for this spec, and all of your abilities, most of them at least, have a cleave mechanic. In a way, you can say when you play Demon Hunter, as long as you are playing the class of Demon Hunter, you are prepared for whatever situation throws at you. On the number 3, I would have to say that Demon Hunters have an awesome amount of mobility, and it's probably some of the most unique mobility in the game. Now, mobility alone isn't something that makes a class amazing. There are a lot of classes that can basically be a standing turret that unloads a barrage of damage at the enemy, and some players might enjoy it. But for the most part, I have never seen a player that says, no, I hate mobility, I want a class with no mobility, please take away all of that mobility. Demon Hunters have many ways of moving around the battlefield. Not only do you have a backflip, which doubles up basically as a disengage, you have a fell rush, which is basically a monk roll allowing you to move around and deal damage to enemies, but you also have abilities of double jump. Whether you are in the world or in PvP situations, you can still use double jump in order to get up certain areas, allowing you a little bit more verticality. On top of it, you also have glide, and glide comes into so many useful situations where you can either use glide to project yourself forward just for a little bit extra push forward, or even better, to be able to fall down certain areas and certain heights without taking any damage thanks to the glide mechanic. Number 4, and I feel like this one is maybe a little bit less on the list, it depends on the player, but I feel that Demon Hunters are just a class with fun design in mind. Right now, Demon Hunters for arenas are not the greatest class for arena, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you know what it's like to have or be playing a class, maybe even a spec, that's not the most optimal for PvE or PvP. Regardless, Demon Hunters deal a ton of damage, so for the most part, you shouldn't worry too much about the viability of them, and I'm pretty sure Blizzard will make some changes in patch 7.1.5, so you shouldn't worry too much on that end. But I feel that the devs designed this class definitely with fun in mind. From double jump to ease access of abilities to some of the different combinations of talents and honor talents that you can implement, and I'm a big proponent of playing a spec, playing a class that is super fun for me, no matter if it's viable or not. Blizzard were able to do so much with Demon Hunter. I mean, this spec can literally fly up into the air and rain a barrage of chaos bolts at your enemies. What other class can do something as cool and flash as that? It's simply fun. You literally fly into the air and you start playing a minigame in the middle of a BG. I think it's awesome, I think it's great, I think it's interesting, and it has a little bit of depth to be utilized in PvP by certain few players that are really good at Demon Hunter. And there's also other mechanics for Demon Hunters, like being able to use mobility with damage just for like short-term bursts. You have big bursts, you have different ways of dealing damage to your enemy, to be going to metamorphosis more often. There's just so many different playstyles, and not all of them I feel like were strapped around the idea of balance. And of course, Blizzard is trying to balance Demon Hunters as best as they can with the recent buffs that they had. Again, also patch 7.1.5 coming out in the future. The spec is fun, and I feel like just from playing it, even for a little bit, it felt like fun was the main concept design when they made the spec. Sure, it might not have a lot of buttons, sure it might not be the greatest at everything, but it's pretty damn fun to get behind, and I can definitely get behind it, even casually. Lastly, Demon Hunters start out at a pretty high level. You can basically get into a Demon Hunter and get right into Legion questing and get to level 110. You don't have to go through the long-term process, as it is basically another hero class that was added in the game. So that's probably one of the best reasons, because I know some people have trouble leveling or don't really enjoy leveling that much, and especially if you are, focusing on an hell of a lot in Legion and you don't really have time to level, don't worry, Demon Hunters basically got you covered. And that's really everything I have for some of the reasons why I should play Demon Hunter. It's a pretty cool alt. I definitely want to play some other alts, but I can definitely show some appreciation for Demon Hunters. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.